Good morning, everyone. Let us start our meditation session by looking at our posture. Ideally, sitting on the floor in full lotus posture. Make sure you are not pushing your body. If full lotus posture is difficult for you, you can simply sit cross-legged or half lotus or Burmese style. Make sure you're comfortable, not pushing. The most important thing is for your back to be straight. And if you're actually sitting on the chair, if you cannot sit on the floor, if you're on the chair, make sure your back is not leaning against the support of the chair. You can imagine there is a string pulling your head from the crown so that your spine is upright. The hands are in concentration mudra, so with your right hand on top of the left, the two thumbs slightly touching, and this rests at your lap. While the back is straight, the shoulders are even and relaxed, and the body is flexible. You're able to turn from left to right, even though the back is straight. The neck is aligned with the spine. You can slightly tilt your head forward, not too much. Your tongue, you can place it behind your upper teeth towards the upper palate to help reduce the production of saliva. And finally, the eyes are not completely closed. We leave them slightly open, but we don't pay attention to what we are seeing. It is the mental consciousness that meditates. Now let us look at our... Good morning. Good. If you want, you can grab a cushion so you can sit on the floor. And you can take one of these big blue ones so you're more comfortable. Take a big one and a small one, both of them. Did you do meditation before?
Yeah.
Okay.
In Montreal.
All right.
It's our first time in India.
Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you. What's your name?
Nico. We have people following online as well. We already started, but I'll just give the instructions again.
Sorry.
No worries. Yeah, there's a lot of traffic in Delhi,
Yeah.
So we'll do a half an hour meditation session, and the first thing we look at is our posture. So the best is like we are doing now, sitting on the floor. Ideally, we sit in full lotus posture, but that might be a little bit difficult. Full lotus means, to have 1 foot on top of each leg. But so make sure you're not pushing, make sure you're comfortable. Simply sitting cross-legged or in half lotus or even Burmese style with one leg in front of the other. That's completely fine. The most important thing is for our back to be straight. And you can imagine there is a string, pulling from the crown of your head so that, your spine is aligned and straight. The hands, we put them in the concentration mudra. So you have your right hand on top of the left. The two thumbs are slightly touching, and this rests at your lap. So while the back is straight, the body is flexible. You can, freely turn from left to right. The shoulders are even and relaxed. The neck is aligned with the spine. You can slightly tilt the head forward, not too much. The ancient masters, they gave us a tip to reduce the production of saliva, to put the tongue towards the upper palate behind the upper teeth. This helps a little bit to have less saliva and be less distracted. And finally, the eyes. We don't actually meditate with the eyes completely closed. We leave them slightly opened, like naturally, and we gaze just 1 or 2 meters in front of us. But we don't actually pay attention to what our eyes are seeing. It is the mental consciousness that meditates. So that's the first thing, the posture. Now we look at our motivation. Why are we coming this morning to meditate? So we'll try to generate a Mahayana motivation, a motivation of bodhicitta. Bodhicitta is the Sanskrit word for the mind of awakening. So it is basically thinking, about all sentient beings, including ourselves, how we are actually trapped, in the prison of our own mind. We can see in our daily experiences, we don't have much control over the experiences that we make. Sometimes meeting with things we don't want to meet. Sometimes going through sickness or obstacles, problems. So we can easily see how in our daily lives this happens. We don't have much control. So the idea behind practicing meditation and listening to the teachings of the Buddha is to get control over our minds. Because at the moment our minds are totally under the control of our, what we call afflictions. We can also call mental disturbations or negative emotions. There are many names. We call them klesha in Sanskrit, such as, attachment, like excessive desire, or anger, hatred, jealousy, pride, and so on and so forth. All of these afflictions, they are actually rooted in what the Buddha calls self-grasping ignorance. Self-grasping ignorance is this root affliction that we have that thinks everything exists inherently, everything exists objectively, independently. Especially ourselves, we feel like there is a solid I, we have a solid sense of I, me, myself, that exists independently from anything else, that exists from its own side. Because of this apprehension, we feel that we are the center of the universe, we feel that we are more important than others. And because of that, all these afflictions arise: attachment, anger, jealousy, pride, and so on and so forth. Because of these afflictions, we engage in negative actions. Sometimes out of attachment, we might steal, we might lie, out of anger, we might hurt others. And these negative actions, they result in negative karma. Every time we create a negative action, we accumulate negative karma, and this will inevitably ripen as an unpleasant experience, an experience of suffering. And because of these afflictions and karmas, the Buddha tells us that we are constantly taking rebirth without any control. Since time immemorial, since beginningless time, we have been going through this cycle of death and rebirth, and we cannot choose where we get reborn. This time we are very fortunate, we are reborn as humans with the capacity to think and work on our minds. But countless times we also have been reborn as animals, and we can see with our own eyes, how the suffering there is even more intense than for humans. You can think of animals in the wilderness who are constantly living in fear, of being chased by bigger, stronger animals. We can even see how the animals that humans see as food, how they are treated. Hundreds of them living in very small places, waiting to be sent to the slaughterhouse. You can imagine the suffering there. And the Buddha tells us that there are also other realms than humans and animals where the suffering is even more intense. As humans, we can also see, many people are having problems of poverty, sickness, problems in their relationships, problems with the family, at work, and so on and so forth. Try to generate a sense of compassion for yourself and all sentient beings. A sense of compassion, thinking, may I and all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. And we can also try to generate a sense of responsibility. I myself will free all sentient beings from suffering and the causes of suffering. Because now I have this precious human life. I have all my mental, physical capacities. And I'm born in a world, in a place where the Buddha appeared 2,500 years ago. The Buddha turned the wheel of Dharma. He gave all the teachings for many years. The teachings are still very much available, especially these days with internet. There are many followers of the teachings of the Buddha from whom we can learn and we can be inspired. And there are many people supporting the students and practitioners of the Buddha's teachings. So with all these conditions, we actually have the incredible chance to work on our minds, to transform our minds, to purify our minds by listening to the Buddha's teachings, by contemplating on them and by meditating on them. We can eliminate our afflictions, and especially the root of the afflictions, this self-grasping ignorance that apprehends self and phenomena as existing objectively. By cutting the root of the afflictions, by eliminating this ignorance, all the other afflictions are eliminated. There is no creation of more negative karma. There is no resultant suffering. More than that, the opposite of this ignorance, the wisdom realizing emptiness, the wisdom realizing the actual way things exist, being empty of objective existence. The mind that realizes this also has the power to eliminate what we call cognitive obscurations. And when all cognitive obscurations are abandoned, we can achieve the state of a Buddha, the state of full awakening. And thereby we have the power and the capacity to help countless sentient beings by teaching them, by knowing their individual capacities and being able to guide them unmistakably. Let us try to generate this motivation of bodhicitta for this meditation session. Bodhicitta is the Sanskrit term for the awakening mind, and it is the wish, may I become a Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. So with this motivation in mind, we'll engage in this meditation practice today. We already looked at our posture. Then for this meditation that we called Shamatha in Sanskrit, Shine in Tibetan, or in English we can say calm abiding or single-pointed concentration. The second instruction is that we need an object. What are we meditating on? What are we placing our focus, our attention on? So if you're familiar with Shamatha practice, you can use the object that you normally take for this meditation. And if you're not familiar with this meditation, what I would recommend is to place your attention at the entrance of your nostrils and see how the breathing sensation feels. When you breathe in, when you breathe out, how does it feel at the entrance of the nostrils? And try to remain on that object of meditation for as long as you can without losing the object. There are two ways we get distracted. Two main ways we get distracted and lose the object. The first is called excitement. For example, we start to think about the future, what we will do later today, or the past. We get, caught up in thoughts, the mind wanders, and therefore we lose our object. The other way we lose our object is because of laxity, also called lethargy or dullness. Basically, we don't put enough application in our meditation, and the mind starts to sink, we kind of fall asleep, and therefore we also lose our object. The final instruction is that there are two antidotes to use during the meditation that are called, the first one is called alertness or introspection. So while the main activity of our mind is to observe our meditation object, for example, the breathing sensation at the entrance of the nostrils, at the same time, there is a small part of our mind in the background that is checking. Am I concentrated? Am I focused on my object of meditation? And if this alertness, this introspection notices that the mind has wandered, then we use the other antidote, which is called mindfulness. And the role of mindfulness is to bring the mind back onto the object and make sure the mind remains there on the object without forgetting the object again. It's a little bit like if you have a pet dog at home. If you notice the dog has run away, this is introspection or alertness. And then mindfulness brings the dog back home. And you can also imagine, putting him on a leash and tying the leash against the pillar so that the dog stays at home. So this is a little bit similar to what we are doing with our mind. So we can try this meditation for about 10 minutes. Remember the 4 instructions. We have the posture, the object of meditation, the 2 ways the mind gets distracted, and the 2 antidotes, introspection and mindfulness. So we'll do this for about 10 minutes. gently come out of the meditation. And we will dedicate the merits of working on our minds, trying to develop the mental factors of introspection and mindfulness. So ideally in the beginning, we don't do long meditation sessions. The masters recommend, as beginners that we sit in Shamatha for like 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, maximum 24 minutes. Because as beginners, it is quite common that we get distracted a lot, and if we don't use the antidotes enough, introspection and mindfulness, then we might develop bad habits that will be difficult to correct later on. And the other reason is that when we meditate for a short time, at the end of the session, maybe we still want to meditate, whereas if we sit for 1-2 hours, maybe at the end we are disgusted, and the next time we see the meditation cushion, we might not want to sit again. So it is better to do many small meditation sessions rather than a few long ones. So we dedicate the merits so that we might soon, very soon, be able to transform our minds, purify our afflictions, eliminate also our cognitive obscurations, and become fully awakened Buddhas in order to benefit all sentient beings without leaving even one aside, so that we may be able to help even the tiniest ant. May the supreme mind of bodhicitta, that has not arisen, arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish but increase forevermore. May the wisdom realizing emptiness that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish but increase more and more. We also dedicate for the long and healthy life of our precious lamas, in particular His Holiness the Dalai Lama. May he have a very long and healthy life. May he continue to teach us the Dharma of Buddha Shakyamuni for a very long time. May all his wishes be instantly fulfilled. We also pray for the swift return of our spiritual director, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, who took the aspect of passing away last year. May we soon have the fortune to find his unmistaken reincarnation, so that Rinpoche may continue to guide us and lead the organization. Finally, we dedicate all our merits so that all the wars in the world immediately come to an end. May there be no new wars. May there be no famine, no epidemic, no catastrophes of the elements, natural disasters. And may peace and harmony prevail in everyone's hearts and lives. Thank you very much for joining us, and I will see you tomorrow at 9 a.m.